Kelly, as you get that set up,
Yeah.
I'll just give a brief introduction. So, Kelly is the founder and chief vision officer at KJB Sales Consulting and also the author of The More You Know, The More You Close, The Power of Curiosity Driven Sales. And we're so excited to have you today, Kelly, and looking forward to this session. So, feel free to take it away whenever you'd like.
All righty. Thank you so much, Katie and Lauren. And good morning to some, good afternoon to those who are in the same time zone that I am in. And happy to say the hardest part of the day for me is over. I believe my screen is sharing and I
Yes.
believe you can hear me. So that's my first thumbs up for the day, right? So, yeah, so it sounds like you guys had great presentations yesterday and really strong engagement. And I know that that's going to continue throughout today and I think tomorrow too. Katie, does that
Yes.
sound right? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's great. Thank you to Smart Girl for really thinking about all of us sales and marketing people who may want to seek additional information outside of the great information that your organization gives you. But with that, if I could see you all, I would say raise your hand if you're super excited to be told, good news, you just got mystery shopped.
Ooh.
Right now, I'm thinking everybody's hands are up, right? I know, right? It's like nobody. We thank you for that. It's a funny thing, right? It's one of the things that helps us the most as salespeople to really improve our craft. But it's really hard sometimes to hear about how you've been perceived by someone else. And so, throughout my time as I was the head of sales for a large organization for a very long time, and my time with KJB now, which is coming up on, I think, 3 years, and also talking with our partners at Senior Source, I wanted to really try hard to get to the bottom of some of the mistakes that we make when we are mystery shopped, and oh, by the way, when we're actually shopped by prospective customers. That I think are well within our control and I think can really help you. And we've been fortunate, right? AI has kind of come onto the field and has supported, I think, the sales and marketing crafts and given us some extra time, right? So we can win speed to lead and we can have better new lead to tour ratios. But there's also a few things I think AI has done that has maybe made us a little softer on our game when it matters the most. So, as we dive in, I ask for everyone who is out there that either does face to face selling themselves, or you lead somebody who does that, or you support somebody through the marketing arm of your organization, to remember it's an enormous responsibility that you have. You alone are shaping for somebody what it will mean to have to make this tough decision. You alone sits on your shoulders. You are the extension of the brand. You are the extension of what it's going to feel like to potentially have to make this decision. And it's really tough, I think, to be in a position where every moment with every customer matters so much. Um, because we do work in living breathing communities and you can't always control everything that happens, but there are some things that I think we can control that of course will get you a better mystery shop result, but more importantly, right, will help you to help families to find their way to your community, because I know at the end of the day that's what we all want, right? So we're going to go through some of these and we're going to talk a little bit about what they are, why they are, and then I have a few tips and tricks on how you can leverage AI, I think, for good, which is what we all want to do. So let's dig in. Although we will all say, right, that we're not comfortable being mystery shopped, and it's not a real customer, and it's not a real decision. But I have news for you. I know our friends at Senior Source, they have shoppers who are in situations where they may be looking for a loved one. And so there are people, right, who are entering into your world to better understand what the experience is like. And as I noted earlier, every misstep that we make sends a message because they're on high alert. They're brave enough to get into your building. Well, they were brave enough to stay on the phone or fill out the survey, right? Brave enough to actually come in, and now they have to talk to somebody about all of these things that are going on. And inside, right, they're thinking to themselves, am I expected? Am I going to feel welcome? Are people going to understand my dad or my mom? Are people going to think that maybe we've waited too long? Maybe we shouldn't be doing this at all. Am I going to be able to see what it would be like for me to live there or my dad to live there? And do they know what really matters to me? And those are the things I think that really set us up for success when we can understand the perspective from that prospect and or their family members. So, the more you know is not just a slogan, right? It really is the direction of our discipline. It is our jobs to find out all we can so we can help them to see what life would look like living there. So, motto for me, hopefully a motto for you, slow down, listen to learn, connect those dots, and guide the next step. So, what are those mistakes? So, before the visit, we're going to talk about appointments not being confirmed. When our friendly AI bot books them for us, so kind that they've done that, but we don't confirm. We don't get enough discovery on the phone to really make an impression on them and to demonstrate to them what it will look like to live there. Generic tours. I'll give you a hint on that one. If you think about your last three tours, if you went to the exact same spots and you said the exact same thing, you're doing a generic tour. We can fix that, but that is you. For those of you who are out there maybe saying, I don't do that, we probably all do a little bit. Solo tours, right? When we can't corral, right, other department coordinators or other team members or residents to sort of join us on that tour so the family really gets an understanding of all of the people in that community that are going to be there to support this person that they love. And then no tailored follow up. So again, if you think back to, the last three tours that you had, what did you do immediately following those tours? If it was, well, it could have been an AI generated email, maybe, right? Could have been an email that you cut and paste, maybe. Or it could have been something that really let the customer know that you heard them and that you see them and that you understand what's important to them. So we're going to talk about that as well. Um, I think as we talk through this today, it's important to appreciate AI for where it can show up as a support to us. It can give us more time. It can actually help us to prepare for visits if we're pretty savvy at asking chat some questions, maybe. And it can help us to personalize and follow through with maybe using it as a brainstorming tool. So let's dig into that no appointment confirmation. I will tell you that I have had this happen to me as I've done mystery shops here at KJB when we do skill gap analysis. I would say that this happens more often than not. So we go through the system and we book our tour, and either no one calls to confirm, or when they do call, it's only to tell me where to park and do I know how to get there. And when we think about framing up what it will be like to live with us in whatever brand it is that you are currently working with, we don't want to make that mistake right off the bat, right off the bat. We, like many of your competitors, now have an appointment on our calendars, which is exciting, but we don't talk to them, and guess what, nobody else is doing that either. So to win just by calling and just by sharing, what it is that you would like to know to help to make this a great experience for them, you're winning already. Like right there, you're winning already. We don't want people to take away from that very first piece. I'm not really talking to a real person yet. So am I really committed? Am I really committed to going to that or not? I don't know. And so when we think about, why it matters so very much, right? They're already feeling uncertain. They're already feeling pretty bad, pretty guilty, right? They really don't. Nobody's excited to come and see us ever. They're not excited to come and see us. But now we may have piled on to make it feel that much harder to have to do. Also, the sales team has no discovery yet and no plan. Funny story, sadly true. Jessica Fopp, one of my partners here at KJB, was doing some coaching out at a community. And when she talked to the sales director, nice gal, very good at what she does, and said, "So tell me a little bit about what do we know about Katie?" And she said, "She's coming in at 3 o'clock today." Okay, that's great. So we've got some time, right? So what do we know about Katie? She's coming in at 3 o'clock today. Do we know anything else about Katie? Well, we know she's coming in at 3 o'clock. Now that sounds silly, but that's a true story. And it's a story that we hear all too often when we're coaching. And it's guys, it's because we're busy, right? Like we had AI, like took a little thing off our plate, and that's great. But we have to make sure, right, that we are good partners with AI and that we then do our part. So let's talk a little bit about what better could look like. All right. So we want to confirm that visit. We want to create a connection because remember, you might be the only person that's calling. So you called and now you want to create a connection. Again, you're winning. And you're going to begin doing some discovery. I know it's always tricky. People are like, oh, well, if we tell them everything over the phone, they may not feel like they have to come in. I say, if you start asking really good questions, they're going to want to come in that much more, right? You are building value for them to take their time and to come and visit with you. And so you're creating that through asking them some questions so they immediately they feel like, wow, they really want to understand dad. So it could sound like, hello, Mrs. Myers. That's me. Thank you for scheduling a visit with us at Grace Hall. We're excited to meet you. Do you have a few minutes now so I can maybe learn what matters most and how to make your time with us as valuable as possible? So you've gone beyond, I want to make sure you know how to get here, and I have a parking place out front, and we've even taken the steps to put your name on that parking place, and we will have a little placard on the inside at the reception area that has your name. We're going way beyond that. And already we're starting to think, and they're starting to think about what this could look like. So, where can AI help in that situation? Well, depending on one, if you're allowed to use chat where you work. So, if you don't, maybe this is not for you. But if you are allowed to use something like that, right? It can help you to trigger a task when an online visit is booked. So you go in, right, and you're saying, okay, I've got 2 online tours today. Maybe it can help you to create like a short call preparation, right? Ask you some good questions, maybe saying AI is going to be your coach during this process, right? Um, and it can help you to draft, right, a personalized confirmation email. If you cut and paste things that are in your CRM, say, help me write a really good email. This is what's important to them. And then, of course, you humanize it by making sure it sounds like you. But those are great reasons to use AI. Just letting AI schedule the appointment for you and then not at all talking to them. That's
Well,
not,
Kelly,
yeah,
I'm going to
Katie.
jump in and say, as
Yeah.
a fan of automation, we love automation at Smart Girl, but doing those automated touch points that we can do with the machine of automation and I agree with you 100%. It doesn't go near as far as making
Mm-mm.
this personalized phone call to really make it about them and what they want to experience. That's going to just set you far and above on that tour and the overall customer
Mm.
experience.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I think always remember, guys, nobody wants to come and see us. We have to give them reasons to come and see us. So, getting back to that second point, right? Either no discovery at all prior to the visit or very limited discovery. And from a customer's perspective, right? Again, they don't know what to expect. Our behavior is framing for them what they should expect. And when we're not interested until they show up in person, that says something to the customer. It also puts you in a position that is so much more difficult to dig out of because you know that Katie's coming in at 3 o'clock. By taking the time, right, to ask some really great discovery questions on the phone, and this doesn't have to be a 30-minute phone call. This can be 5 minutes and you can learn a lot of information, right? It's that we have to ask to learn. if we don't do that, then we lose time on learning, yeah, on how to prepare for the tour, right? We don't know what's on the customer's mind before they get there. We don't know which department coordinators might be really critical to introduce them to and maybe have a few quiet moments with. We don't know what parts of the community might really support the things that once brought that person great joy. There's an example in here about the fellow's name is actually Ed. He was a big woodworker, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But if I don't know that Ed's a woodworker, like that's a pretty big deal, especially if we have like a little wood shop, right, in our community, or we have a group of men, right, who also like to do that. Like just knowing that can help you to build a really meaningful experience for the family and says to them, "You matter to me." Like, you matter to me. It matters to me that your father is more than just what's wrong with him today. So, what could better look like, or better said, maybe sound like? Um, you want to gather enough information to make sure that the visit is very intentionally planned. And so it could be as simple as saying, before you come in, help me understand what's happening now and what could be different for your mom. What would make this visit feel truly valuable for you and your family? What are things that are on your top of mind that you really want to understand? I want to make sure that I am prepared to get you those answers when you come in today at 3 o'clock or tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And so learning that story before the visit, obviously going to keep learning as you go, but all of that information can help you to build a truly personalized experience. Truly personalized. Again, last three people, did you go to the exact same stopping points? Did you say the exact same things? I was once in your chair, and yes, I did that too. Because you didn't want to, heaven forbid, right, that you didn't show them everything. And then they go to the competitor and they see everything over there. And then they're like, well, yeah, we too have mailboxes. You're going to get your own mail, but I didn't show you the mailboxes because it didn't seem all that important at the time, right? So we worry, right? But the more we build value in what they need, and the more time we spend in the areas that are of what they need and support what they need, care certainly, but also who I am as a human, what brings me joy, that's going to feel different. It's going to feel different. You care. You were concerned. You asked good questions. And so, thinking about AI, this is where AI can help you, right? To here's what I learned on the phone. I'm thinking that this sounded like it really mattered to them, and this sounded like it really mattered to them. Help help to build me a bit of a summary about what matters most to them. That's a great use. Suggest thoughtful questions and follow up for me. Doesn't mean you're going to use those questions verbatim, but it gets you on your toes, right? It's kind of like you're tuning up to make sure you remember all those great questions. Because no matter how many times we've done it, we're all a little nervous when we're meeting new people because it's such a huge decision that they're making. So when we might be a little nervous, it's really good to have a pre-call plan, at least to have practiced some questions, even if those aren't the ones you asked. Katie, it looked like you maybe wanted to say something.
I would say I love using AI as a thought
Mhm.
partner for exactly those, like, tell me
Yeah.
the questions I didn't think to ask, or but finding those meaningful moments to connect with families as they're coming into the community, I think is really powerful. So love that tip.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Generic tours, also known as the standard tour. People who know me, who might be out there, they might have a little chuckle when they heard standard tour, because that's something that I used to say a lot. Like, please don't give them the standard tour. We have a lot of really awesome things in our communities to show. Communities are built in areas that, provide lots of other community activities outside the walls of your building. The builders and developers of our buildings really try hard to make sure that we have beautiful spaces that are going to help them to live their lives. We all have fantastic food. We have fantastic chef. We have fantastic life enrichment person. We have fantastic activity program. We have a bus. We have all of these wonderful things. And in that sea of wonderful things, there's probably one or two that are on that customer's mind right now. Right now. And you may hit them as you're showing the 17 other wonderful things. They get blurred together. And I don't walk away feeling like maybe I understand what life would look like here, because I kind of saw all the same stuff I saw at the last place. It all kind of sounded the same, except for you're a lot more expensive, so I think I'm going there. Right? We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. We're more expensive because we're better and because we care, and we're going to demonstrate that to you. And so, you know, you don't want a customer walking away feeling like, well, that was really pretty. I mean, it's nice when people say you're pretty, but that's not really what they're looking for. They're not looking for pretty drapes and pretty carpet and pretty this and pretty that, right? They're looking for a partner they can trust to leave this person that they love the most in the world with when they are at their frailest. That's what they want. We don't want the customer to have to connect the dots, right? When I've heard about, realistically, let's say 10 really great things that you do there, I have to connect the dots as the customer to the features and the benefits of those features on my own. And guess what? I've never done this before. So I don't even know how to do that. Right? I don't understand what it is that could support my dad in a way that's very personal to him, because I've never done this before. So I need your help. And by pulling in, right, other team members and pulling in residents, right, who can share their stories, those are the things that are going to help customers connect the dots. So this is Ed. And this is actually a true story. And so, when Ed and his daughter came in, one of the things that the salesperson did find out was that he was always a morning person. He's always getting up, and if you didn't see him in his chair, he was going to be out in it was like a little garage kind of wood shop working thing. And he used to make all kinds of little toys and things like that. It was just what he did. He fiddled, right? Fiddled out there with his things, lucky enough to never cut off any fingers or toes, but he fiddled with things out there. And it really meant a lot to him. And it had been such a long time. Like as she was talking to the daughter, this was like one of those things where the daughter was, you want to know the one thing I haven't seen him do in forever? He hasn't been out with his wood stuff. Like now that you asked me that question about what did my dad used to do that really brought him joy, I can't remember last time I went over there and had to look for him out there, which was every other time before this last 5 years, before my mom died. So saying, right, you mentioned your dad misses having a reason to get up in the morning, and I want you to meet the person who leads our woodworking group. I know that that's something that he enjoyed. I truly loved listening to the stories that you shared about the things that he made. And then there's a group of residents that always gather before lunch. I think they're people that he'd have some things in common with. So would it be okay if we started the tour there? And honestly, if you just do that and you've already shared like all the great things, you win. You win right here. It doesn't matter if you cost more, doesn't matter if you're prettier, none of those things matter. But when I know that somebody took something that I said that brings my dad joy and brought it to life for me in a way that would be meaningful for him, you win, hands down. You want to make sure always, right, that you have enough information that you can build these moments that customers aren't even expecting. Like they come in expecting to see what the room size is, where he's going to eat, what outside might look like. They don't even understand what activities are, right? And so when you can pull something like that, that's that meaningful, when they get home at the end of the day and they've got their stack of brochures that, by the way, all look exactly the same and all sound exactly the same. Everybody's awesome. We're all awesome. When you sounded like everybody else, it's kind of just a stack of papers. But when you have introduced them to the person that does the woodshop work, what they remember is, okay, you know what? They were also pretty, but you know what I remember the most? It was when Katie took us to that area where they do the woodshop stuff. I think just smelling the wood would be great for Dad. That's a very different kind of feeling than, wow, this is really expensive and it's really hard to understand because I don't really even understand some of the questions that they asked me while I was there. So you want to make sure, right, that if somebody's really worried about medication management, that the medication care manager or your nurse is going to be available to talk to them about how it is that you deliver medications on time, when they're supposed to get them, how they're supposed to get them. If that's what's on their mind, if they only met the nurse, that you're winning. Because that person took time out of their day to sit down and actually ask the customer questions about what are the challenges with the medications. And let me tell you what we've done with people who had similar, it's never the same issue because we're all different, but similar issues. So, how can AI help you to be even better at that, right? You can cut and paste out of your CRM and say, draft me a tailored route based on what I learned. And then you tweak it, right? You tweak it based on time of day and where people are, like you kind of know the behind the scenes choreography that has to go on. It might be able to help you to think through like what kind of current resident should I be looking for to maybe let them talk to? And it might help you to put together, right, like a preview of life visit plan. Like if I was to think about what I know about Ed today, what could a day in life look like? And could I sit with the daughter and say, you know, when I was thinking about your dad, I was thinking about everything I learned on the phone. I know there's more to learn. I was thinking about what you'd probably want to see the most. And here's what I was thinking. We'll see this, this, and this. And then I know that the executive director is going to want to talk to you as soon as we're done, just to make sure, right, that you've got everything that you need. How's that sound? They're not going to say, oh, yeah, I think I also want to see where Baking Club is. They're not going to say that, right? Because you've listened, you've demonstrated to them that they matter to you and what they're going through matters to you. And that Ed is more than the problem that's creating the reason that you're here today. Ed is a whole bunch of things that are also very important to the daughter, including that maybe he's taking his medication, so he should be.
I love that preview of life. Can I see myself or my parent living here? And are they seen here in this community? I think that that goes hand in hand with what you're recommending, Kelly. I love it.
Yeah. And doesn't it make the job more fun? People are
I,
interesting, right? I
yeah.
mean, people are interesting. It just makes the job, I think, so much more fun when we learn these things. I got a note the other day from somebody, a client that I work with, and she was sharing with me some of the emails that she had gotten about trying to use the more you know, right? To build a sense of visit plan, right? And to build a sense of, you know, how could I make this different? And gosh, if you're out there, the young lady that sent this note, I hope you know that it's you I'm talking about. So she, when she was on the phone with the gentleman that was going to potentially maybe move there, he was out of state and the daughter lived in state, and she did actually get to talk to him before he met the daughter. And in talking to him, she had discovered that he was, I think, a college swim coach. He had written 2 books on swimming. He had written some murder mysteries. He had written a book about caregiving during Alzheimer's disease. Like he was really interesting, and so she, you know, when she was done talking with him and said, "Yep, well, you know, the daughter. I know your daughter's going to come in for the tour next week. Really appreciate, you know, the time that you took to share all of that with me." When she got off the phone, because that is interesting to meet somebody who's written that many books from somebody who, you know, wrote 1 book. A lot of books is a lot of work. Um, she went out onto Amazon, right? Because she's curious and she's looking it up and she's like, oh, look at that, look at that. Like she's learning all of these things. So when the daughter came in, she was like bubbling over, right? With this is so cool that your dad did all this. Like this is, I can't imagine. I can't imagine how hard that must have been. And I bet his stories are great. Well, you know, when they did decide to move in, specifically what the daughter has said to her was nobody, nobody made me feel like my dad had lived this big life like you guys did. And I can guarantee you, they were not the least expensive. They also were not new. So I just think that, you know, thinking about how it is that you can personalize to that degree makes our jobs more fun because that is interesting. But imagine what that says to somebody who's going through such a difficult time, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe that, like, yes, mom broke her hip, but also mom did all of this other stuff. Like this is a moment in time. So as you're, you know, thinking about, you know, how do I make sure that I really connect try to remember those stories. We touched on this solo tour thing just a few minutes ago, but of course, you as the salesperson, or if you're an executive director in a building that doesn't have a salesperson, you know that you're on the tour, right? You know that you're going to be there, and I'm sure you give a fabulous tour, right? I'm sure it's great. I'm sure you answer all the questions. I'm sure you care. I'm sure you ask great questions. But when the salesperson carries that full visit alone, we're not leveraging the experience and the expertise of all of the people who will be engaged in that person's life when they move in. We know we are the least engaged, right, with that person's life after they move in. We're the front door people. And of course, because our office is, 2 rooms down from where they live, we get to see them every day. Socially, we're very involved. But we're not involved in the same way that so many of our department coordinators and care teams are involved. And so, when that mistake can happen, it says to the customer, maybe, I heard one person talk about the community, but I didn't experience the community. Like I couldn't really see dad there. Like I don't know. I'm having a really hard time connecting the dots. You want to provide proof that what you say actually happens. And when you involve a team member or a resident, what you're saying is then evidenced by the fact that they got to talk to this person. Like, wow, like that's pretty cool. Because we know we have an enormous responsibility, but the rest of the team has an even bigger responsibility once that person chooses us. So, what could better look like? Maybe it's as simple as, because communication is especially important to you. I asked our wellness director to join us for a few minutes so you can hear how we keep families informed. Okay. All right. That's pretty good, right? I now have one of the things that was really on my mind. I've now met the person from a healthcare perspective who's going to keep that person on my mind. I did a mystery shop myself for a community, and I did, I think, probably 5 competitors in them. And at every single one, I was trying to get, you won't be shocked by this, how the pricing worked. Like trying to understand how the pricing works. And of course, all 6 buildings had a different way of doing it. People were really good at telling me about how many points equals cost, but nobody could tell me in a way that made me feel like I walked away and I'd be able to report back to my family. If we choose Grace Hall, this is likely what it's going to cost. So the last community that I visited was one that did call me. And fortunately, it was the company that was paying us to do it, so that was kind of nice. A win for them. But that person did called initially saying, I want to make sure I know you're here from out of town. I want to make sure you know how to get here. We're in kind of a funny area. And I know that you're trying to see as many communities as you can. Is there anything that you're thinking about right now that would be really important to talk about when you come here? I said, yes. No one can help me understand pricing. I have no idea. People have points and I don't know what that means. So when I got to that community, the fellow's name was Jason. I got to that community, I walked in the door and he introduced himself and he said, first things first, I've got our director of nursing. She's dedicated to helping you to understand how we price things. We can't make guarantees that that'll be exactly what the price will be, but we can walk you through the process. We went to the private dining room. She went through and she said, listen, here's the thing. I'm going to ask you some questions. And if all the answers that you give me are actually what we find when we do the assessment, right? So this depends a lot on you, Kelly, right? A lot on you to get it right. I'll be able to give you an estimate of what that would look like. So the room, that's easy. The care, I agree, it's across our industry, it's not easy. But you answer all the questions, and that will look like what I see when I get there to do an assessment. I can help you with that. Honestly, and it is hard, It is hard to understand our pricing. Um, if he would have only done that and I was really looking, like hands down, I'm like, yes, I'm going there. Because those people actually feel like they know what they're doing, right? They cared about what I was most frustrated about. And so thinking through all of the things that we've talked about before this, how important it is to connect those dots and solve problems that the person is having right now. So how can AI help you? Right? When you're trying to match, where should I go? Who should I introduce them to? AI, you can type that into AI. I suspect you already know. I don't think you need AI for that. However, you may use it to get some good introductory things that you want to do, how you want to introduce Katie, our director of nursing. Um, and it can also create like a simple tour handoff note that maybe in stand up, right? You can say, I've got Katie coming in today, and here are the things that I've learned so far. Here's where we're going, and here's approximately when I think I'll be there. Right?
Yeah.
I just need you to be there. Just be there. Smile at this person, ask them a couple questions, answer their questions, and we will be on our merry way. I know everybody's busy. It's hard to get time away from other department coordinators. That's a real thing. Struggle is real there. But I think that that's where relying and leaning into their expertise, it can really help. And it's not about helping us close more sales, although that's nice when it happens. It's about helping the family get their questions answered.
And more FaceTime and connection with a larger
Yeah.
group of the team that their family
Yeah.
member is going to be seeing. So love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then, finally, we're going to talk about tailored follow up. I think there's 1,000 ways, right? We call it creative follow up, we call it personalized follow up. It's just about following up, which, as I've done mystery shops and as I've talked to my partners at Senior Source, follow up is sort of like a hidden secret because we don't really do it. We don't do a good job of it, in my experience. And so when you're thinking about, again, I'm framing what people can expect. If I don't follow up at all, they don't do what they say they're going to do. Done. If they can't return a simple phone call or make a phone call when they said they would, send an email that's about the Parkinson's support group. If they can't do the little stuff, I'm not feeling great about the big stuff. So developing, right, your follow-up muscles. Again, when you think about stuff that's in our control, this is in our control game. We decide. We decide how, when, and what is in our follow up. And I know we all joke, right? We all joke about the call. It's like, oh hey, I'm just calling to follow up, or oh hey, I'm just calling to check on your mom, or oh hey, I was right. We joke about that, right? Because like they know we're not checking on their mom. They know that we're calling to see if you're ready to move in or not. Um, if you can take a big step back from that and really think about what did I learn and what did I hear that's going to allow me to demonstrate that I heard them, that I understand them, that I'm with them in where they are on their journey, right? They said that their mom is going to be moving to the state in 3 months. She's currently living in another senior living community. She's coming here in 3 months. When my follow up is, well, why don't we have our nurse call over there and do an assessment? That's not doing anything for the family. So it's very selfish on our part, right? Maybe calling to find out from the resident what are the things that she loves about the place she's living right now. Hey, would it be okay if I called your mom? I'm really curious. I want to understand, like, what is she doing there that she loves now? So we're prepared for that, right? What is she finding frustrating? Also good to be prepared for that. But thinking about, does your follow up align with where the customer is in their journey? Or does your follow up align with how many move ins you need this month? What is the rate? I'm sure somebody out there could quote it. I think it's 90% of the leads in our databases choose not to move in. 90% choose not to move in. So we're all fighting for 10%, first and foremost. I strongly believe that in that 90% are the people that we were not aligned with, and we continued to ask for things that they were not ready for us to ask, that it was a situation where they're just like, and I'm out. And I'm out. So, in thinking about how you can make a difference for people simply by listening and by connecting dots, like the wood shop, a group of men. Let me tell you a little bit about Katie, our nurse, and she's gonna want to understand how your mom's taking her medications now. What are going to be some of the challenges, and then she'll have some stories to share. I'm sure. I'm sure. I think that it's just, again, follow up is sort of the mystery, right? It's the mystery of our industry, and quite frankly, probably every industry. Um, Katie, I bet there's some AI follow up though. Is there some AI follow up that you've seen that has worked?
Again, from an AI perspective, definitely
Yeah,
using AI as a thought partner to maybe think outside of the box, the more creative it can be to
yeah,
connect personally,
yeah,
is where I look at AI. Obviously, in the automation world, there's, automations we like to build as like
yeah,
frameworks that align with the sales process, and they can be personalized, but not to the level you're talking about here with like better personalized follow-up, on the sales side of, really connecting to that story.
yeah,
um, how do you connect their story with an upcoming event, or what is that woodworking book that might be interesting to dad or something like that. I mean, those are things that, if I'm hitting a wall and not very creative some days,
yeah,
that's where my
yeah.
my AI thought partner comes in and can help really get AI can get really creative too, so be
Yes.
careful.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like to make sure it's appropriate, right? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I think right, like listen, we don't have all the answers and we can't think of all the cool stuff that you could do for follow up. But again, brainstorming with AI, right, can really help. What kind of questions should I have asked? Especially, I know some of you have CRMs that record your phone conversations. I mean, I suspect you can get a transcript of that. And if you don't have a coach, say, coach me. Here's what happened. What questions did I miss? What should I do next? When they come in for that tour, here's what I'm thinking. Am I missing anything? Brainstorming, right? It's brainstorming with, something that's using a plethora of information to help stoke your fires.
I always look at like, what is that next value add step for me
Yeah,
to give back to
yeah,
somebody I'm talking to. That's it.
yeah,
I always look at like value add follow up is always very well received. As long as it's very intentional and comes from a sincere place.
yeah, yeah, no doubt, right? And so, what could it sound like? What could better follow up sound like? And, in this example, right, I'd love to stop by and spend a little more time with your mom so we can talk in a setting that feels comfortable for her. And so, in this situation, right, the daughter was talking about her mom being lonely, right, had lost a lot of friends, wasn't too excited about coming to the community, and this was an opportunity to leverage a home visit, right, to go to somebody on their turf, right? On their turf. Let them have, that position in regards to they're not coming to you where they're already anxious. Home visits are underused, I think, a lot of times. And really I think could be such a welcome gift for somebody who you learned that they were lonely. You learned they've lost a lot of friends. You've learned, right, that she's not too keen on coming in just yet. What do you have to lose by offering a genuine home reason for a home visit? Which I get that she's nervous. Maybe I could, kind of go over tomorrow afternoon and, maybe the two of us could just talk a little bit. Maybe on the front porch. Maybe she could show me some of those things that you just told me that she loves so much. Um, I know it can be scary sometimes to put yourself out there like that, but to the prospective daughter and to the prospective customer, right? The fact that you care enough to give that much of your time and up to go and visit with someone when they're not even sure they're doing this yet. Yeah, that's what we're all here for, right? We're all here to help seniors make better decisions about how they're going to live the rest of their life. So, where does AI belong? Organization, help you with prompts, they can summarize things, help you prepare, They can do some personalized drafts for you if you have to give the information, though. They're not you. They can't just make you up. And they can support some of your follow-up, right? It will never, it's never going to replace the human connection. Never. It can't replace empathy, right? When you physically see somebody struggling, and when you can sit next to them and you can just sit with them for a minute and acknowledge how hard this is for everyone. Curiosity. It might help you with some good, curious questions, but it doesn't replace the relationship that you'll build when you do ask those good questions. Can't listen, right? And it doesn't have any judgment in regards to what would be the right next thing to do. So AI is the strongest, right? After the salesperson has done all the human work really well. And that's that really well, right? We have to do that first. Because if not, it doesn't matter what we give AI to come up with some really savvy, great questions, because we didn't give it enough information to even put together some ideas around potential questions. So I know you guys are all going to be, I think you got 3 more hours of learning that you have access to today. So that's exciting. But I would ask, right? I would ask that if any of this resonated with you and you really want to think about how can I do an even better job at what I'm doing today? How can I make sure that I'm supporting people in the way that they deserve? Just choose one of these things. And you know which one it is that you need to work on, right? So is it personally confirming every online visit? Maybe for the next month, that's the one thing you're going to commit to. I'm going to call everybody. I'm going to let them know in my voicemail. I'm going to leave a really great voicemail that's going to compel them to want to call me back because I'm calling to say, I want to make the best use of your time, right? I'm going to ask one more discovery question. I'm going to go a little deeper, be a little braver in asking that next question and not just jumping topics. I'm going to connect at least 3 tour moments to what the prospect has shared. At least 3. I'm going to plan one purposeful resident or team interaction. So everybody who comes in here, I'm going to figure out which resident could best relate to them or which team member can best put their mind at ease. And I'm going to end every visit with a specific next step. Now, I have a tool that if you get your phones ready, guys, I have a tool that you can use, a QR code, and it'll help you through this and give you some ideas that I do think will help you. At least I hope that it does. And I hope that as you're thinking about the responsibility that you have, right? Keep in mind the prospect's not going to remember every feature you show them, especially if you show them everything. They will, however, remember that they felt seen, heard, and understood. So it is okay, right? It is okay to slow down because it will speed up your movements. The slower you go, the more movements you will have. So thank you so much for that. And Katie and Lauren, thank you so much for asking me to join today. Here's just a little information. So that scan for the 5-step meaningful visit, if you get your phone out, you should be able to get the QR code there. I was very proud of myself for being able to do that. Had to learn that. See, old ladies can learn new tricks. But and then just a little bit of information about KJB if you're interested at all in any of the things that we do, or if you just you're stuck. If you're stuck on a prospective resident, send me an email because that would make my day if we could brainstorm over that. But with that, I will say thank you, learn a lot, have fun, and I'll give you back to Katie.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kelly. So many great tips. If anybody has any questions, we got a couple minutes. Drop your questions in the chat. Our next session starts at 12:15 with Sonia talking about the speed to lead. We will include the resource with the recording as well for anybody who didn't get their phone out to scan it. But Kelly, so much great information. Having a good tour experience and really taking that handoff from marketing into sales is key to everybody moving towards the same goal. So really appreciate your insights today and so glad you could join us. Everyone, I will see you all on our next session.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Stay curious.